Welcome to the Poisoner's Cabinet. I'm Sinead.
And I'm Nick.
And this is your weekly podcast exploring the lives of the great poisoners, macabre murders, and captivating crimes from across the centuries, and creating curious cocktails inspired by the tales that we tell. And it's episode 160.
Hurrah!
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 We're into the swinging 60s.
We are, that's very exciting.
Yeah, yet again.
50s went quick. 10 episodes gone quick.
Yes, after you complained so much about the 40s.
They dragged.
They did. It was a time of trouble and strife and war.
Yes.
How are you, Nick?
Oh, all right.
You're right.
All right. All
You're
right.
right. You're right. Okay, good. Those are just noises.
Yeah.
You are going to say words.
You actually want words?
Yes, I'd like some.
I am fine, thank you.
Very
How
nice.
are you?
Me? Oh, you're actually asking me for once. I'm all right. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe once every 20 episodes or so.
Disdainfully asked. For God's sake.
Probably should.
I'm fine because you bought me a surprise present.
I did buy you a surprise present.
Oh, I'm gonna be
See,
hearing
aren't
about
I
this
lovely?
forever. Yeah. It was very, very sweet. You bought me this. What is it?
What is it? What is this shit?
I didn't look at the.
Be Like a Crow, a solo RPG.
See, so Sinead can pretend to be as she often does any day of an evening. She's often in tree pretending to be a crow.
Yes, pretty much, or
So,
a raven.
Now you can do it with dice. Now you can have activities to do while you're being a crow.
Is this just something you bought for me to keep me busy? Busy
Maybe.
work.
Busy work.
So I
But
don't
fun.
pester you.
But jolly. Best RPG at the Board Games Expo.
Aww.
Was voted, got awards and everything.
Oh, and you bought it for me. That's
And I bought
really
it for you.
sweet.
See?
That's very kind.
I do care.
That makes up for
Sometimes.
all of the abuse.
Oh, good.
no, oh, damn it, I've said it now. It's in
Excellent.
writing.
I can get away with all of that for 12 quid. Hurrah!
That's how much you spent on me? I've gone from being very happy to having very mixed feelings.
What? It's a lovely thing.
It is a lovely thing. It's a bit small, isn't it?
Gratitude. I don't know.
Well, any poisonings this week?
You soon. Go and be a crow. Go on, off you go.
You can't poison a crow. I do really want to be a crow. I do really want to play this. I don't want you to think that it's all I'm thinking about, but it's all I'm
That's
thinking
all you're
about.
thinking about, yeah.
Pretty much since I came in. But
Nice.
but no other poisonings. We're okay?
I don't believe so.
No, it's a lovely, lovely sunny day. It's apparently we're all going to be poisoned by the sun because
Yeah, I'm not convinced by this.
the smallest, the faintest of heat waves is coming our way
Yes, it's
this
going
weekend.
to be 30 degrees somewhere in the UK. Maybe 30 seconds.
Yeah, the BBC has been blasting stuff to our phone going, heat waves go, oh, the emergency alarm will go off.
I don't think it will.
Oh, can it though? Come on.
I think that's rather unnecessary.
They're going to use it sometime.
If the country catches fire, then fine. Then yes, use the alerty thing. It's a bit toasty outside. No.
I don't like it when it gets too hot.
Well, then don't go outside.
I have to. All day Saturday, I'm in a parade. I'm in an actual parade. All day.
Yeah, we don't have to be.
I do. I have to wave banners for pride. Drinking relentlessly. It's going to be awful.
I know, absolutely. You there. Well, I'm stuck at bloody work.
You are in an air-conditioned office.
air-conditioned
Oh,
office,
you've
this is
timed that beautifully. Well, speaking of wanting to be a crow and then dying outside in the terrible, terrible heat, I think it's time for us to thank our delicious Patreon subscribers.
These are getting worse.
They are what they are.
They are what they are.
What
They are what they are. They're getting weirder.
Please do send me a list.
Okay, well, I will consider it.
It's not going to be a list of suggested words.
No.
It's going to be a list of things that really feck you off about me.
It's not a list you want.
But it's a list I'm going to get.
Patreon people, they're lovely. Thank you very much. To Ophelia.
To Shelley Mowick.
To Dawn McKinley.
To Mama Rex.
Amy Steffler.
And to Sarah Taylor. Thank you so much, you delicious, sexy Patreon subscribers.
Marvellous.
Oh, we had fun over on Patreon this week.
We did. Mysteries.
Mysteries of the unexplained.
death.
No death. But, a crime. A crime was committed.
Definite crime.
A crime was committed as I don't know what happened.
We might find out at some point.
We had our first hijacking.
Is it the first? Yes.
I think it is the first plane hijacking. What else have we hijacked?
I don't know. That's what I was thinking. Have we hijacked? There were good few stagecoach hijackings out there.
Oh, we haven't done those.
Yeah, so we definitely need to do those.
We've had cowboys and sort of.
Hijacked trains.
We did. I think we did a chain robbery, didn't we?
Maybe have had a train hijacking.
Yeah, your little forays into the old west.
Yeah, there may have been some sort of train shenanigans going on there.
But there's none of that.
But there was none of that in this one.
This
no.
was a hijacking in the sky.
Because it was in the sky.
In the sky.
The magical
yes.
flying trains.
Yes, DB Cooper. What a great story. On tenterhooks we were. And that might result in a part 2 where we talk about all the theories and the thoughts on who could have done it. And
was this man?
already on Patreon people are going, oh, actually, no. We got thoughts.
Aliens, mainly.
Aliens.
Aliens and Bigfoot.
Absolutely.
That's the main thought so far.
Bigfoot, as we've established, was waiting on the ground and swallowed DB Cooper whole.
With his big cauldron.
With his big volcano-like mouth.
Volcano.
And then he took his money and then went to write his series of Bigfoot erotica.
Yeah.
He's the mastermind behind all of this.
I mean, he had to pay for those eggs somehow.
Exactly. Oh, God, the Easter egg one.
They were jewel encrusted. So that shit ain't cheap.
If you want to know what the hell we're talking about, please go and look up The Poisonous Cabinet on Patreon. It is but $5 a month for our regular tier, where you get an extra episode every single week, as well as lots of bonus content. For $15 a month, you get a gift pack from us and a monthly special episode, The Case Files of PC Morris, where we do talk about Bigfoot and Easter egg hunts. And
We do.
There's still some content from that episode I still have to put out, and I ponder whether I should or not, but I think the people want it. Come and find us on Patreon if you want more lovely, delicious Poisonous Cabinet goodness every single week. Well, Nick, are you ready?
God, no.
To drink cocktails and talk about poison? Or we could drink poison and talk about cocktails.
Yes.
Good. It's going well.
It's going well.
Let's go with the first one.
Okay.
It is my story this week. Hooray, hooray, hooray. But we can't possibly have a story without a cocktail in hand. As you know, dear listeners, every week we choose a secret ingredient that is inspired by the tale that we tell, and it will flavour our cocktail of the week. My story is my pick, and this week's secret ingredient, Nick, is... a grave.
A grave.
A grave.
A grave. Nice.
I'm astounded we haven't done this before.
No, we've had grave adjacent.
Have we?
Well, we've had a corpse.
We've had a corpse, but no graves. No graves.
graves.
And
Yeah.
many of our tales end with graves.
Yeah, that they do.
Okay, so with grave as
Grave.
the ingredient inspiration.
Inspiration.
What have you come up with?
Well, there are some out there. I was doing some googling. There are a lot of sort of Halloweeny ones out there, which are sort of a bit more gimmicky. You've got things. There is one called the Graveyard and the Gravedigger.
Okay.
Yeah, but they are a bit sort of Halloweeny, gimmicky, whipped cream and Oreos, and to simulate rubble and dirt and things like that. So you'll have crushed Oreos.
Oh,
and stuff,
okay.
Which actually sounds pretty good.
It actually sounds quite good right now.
But
it's not what we do.
it's not what we do exactly. Then I thought, oh, the zombie.
Yes. Oh, a zombie.
A zombie. I thought that's a good sort of graveyardy sort of cocktail.
But that feels like we should save that for something
But also,
voodoo
I
related.
have made the zombie cocktail not on a main episode. I made it on Patreon with you and Emma right back at the beginning.
Oh.
And so I thought, I have made a zombie cocktail.
Yeah, maybe a bit of a cop
I
out.
won't do that one. I won't do that one.
Okay. So none of that.
So now I'm more than thinking about it. You're gonna shout at me.
Am I going to shout at you? I shouted at you last week, didn't I?
It's not quite that worthy of shoutiness.
Right, okay.
We're having the corpse's whiskers.
The corpse's whisk. I mean, anything corpse related is fine.
Okay,
I
good,
think.
good. I'm going to get away with that.
The corpse's whiskers,
The whiskers.
Is still now we've taken a sidestep to someone just elbowed a pun in there. Corpses don't have whiskers.
Well, they do.
Does the beard still grow after death?
Well, no, it's still a beard though.
It's still a bit. It
Unless
falls off.
Yeah, well, I don't know where. As soon as everyone drops dead, they are instantly shaved. So, there should not be a hair on this man's head.
He needs to look presentable.
The lesser known psalm: No man shall be buried bewhiskered.
Or just that instantly the beard falls off.
Instant fall off. Death, no beard.
No beard.
Falls out.
Calling the authorities. Hello. Well, we know he's dead because his beard's fallen
Beard's
off.
fallen off.
There's hair everywhere. Bring a brush and probably some medical
I'm
equipment.
not sure that happens. So I think potentially a corpse can have whiskers.
I would have preferred something graveyard based, something coffin, something any of those things. But a corpse, okay. I thought that probably would get in there. Corpse's whiskers.
Well, I did nearly do corpse revivers.
We've done those though.
But we've done two. We've done a number 2 and we've done a number 4.
Mm-hmm.
There is a number 3.
Yes.
There is the original Corpse Reviver as well. So I thought, do I go for the lot? Do we just get them all done in? But I thought, no. I went with some whiskers.
As long as it is tasty, I'll forgive you.
And hairy.
And oh, Jesus. All right. Well, I think it is high time for us to delve into the Poisoner's Cabinet kitchen and shake up a storm. So we'll see you in a minute.
We'll see you in a bit.
And we're back.
Hello.
So, Nick, the corpse's whiskers.
Corpse's whiskers.
It is quite absent of whiskers.
Yes, I apologise for the lack of hair.
Sprinkled some beard stuff
I
in there.
should have sprinkled some beard over the top of it.
And dared me to drink it. It's a very nice colour. It's a lovely wee colour.
It's a lovely wee colour. Everyone has a wee
of
colour.
urine. I guess we'll just like a little. Ooh, okay. Those are some scents and
Those are some
aromas.
smells.
I smell good things.
You must be able to smell at least one thing in there.
Oh, hang on. What? Oh, what? Is it cherry? No? Well, then I don't know. Lemon? Because I know you squeezed some lemon. No, I don't know.
Okay, fine.
Saffron.
Drink the fucking thing.
All right, let's drink. Okay, I think it's important we drink.
Yes.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Ooh.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah.
I like
that. That's nice.
I like.
That has things.
It has things going on.
It has things going on. It's sharp. What is the thing? It's not cherry. Is it not maraschino cherry in there?
Nope, there's not a single cherry inside.
No, cherry brandy.
Nope.
It's not that. Oh, wow. Oh, okay. It's nice. It's mine now. Okay, there's lemon in it. Yum, 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 yum. Oh, it gives way to a complexity. Is there something twigging in there? Is there yellow chartreuse?
There's
in
no
here?
yellow chartreuse.
Oh,
No.
God. Is there any green chartreuse?
There's no green chartreuse.
Okay.
I really like that.
That
one.
is really nice,
Really
but I'm
good.
very confused as to what's in it. Okay, talk us through it.
So there is quite a lot in this one. So we have a base of cognac.
Nice.
We have a cognac base,
Okay.
as is traditional with a corpse reviver. It's a cognac drink as well. We have dry vermouth.
Nice.
Now we have the recipe calls for a Lillet Blanc. I didn't have any, so I use a Cocchi Americano, slightly different.
Oh, nice,
Still like
nice.
aromatized wine, so same sort of thing. Triple sec.
Oh, triple sec.
So maybe where you're getting a
orange.
fruity thing, there's an
Yeah,
orangey
yeah.
thing going on there. There is a bit of, again, the recipe calls for muscovado syrup. I don't have that, so I use agave instead.
Nice.
I thought it was a good substitution on that one.
Thickness.
And absinthe,
Oh.
which is what I thought you would pick up on the smell.
No. Oh, but do I now?
And lemon, as you suggest, lemon juice as well.
No, it doesn't smell of
So
absinthe.
perhaps it's one of those things that I know what's in it, so I'm smelling it because I know I put absinthe in this. But
Well, often sometimes you say there's absinthe, and then as soon as I know what's in it, I go, yes, of course, picked it up instantly.
which is, I mean, again,
I
absinthe
don't smell
is
the
a,
aniseed in this.
is a common thing throughout all corpse-based drinks.
Yeah. Which is, oh, good. We're going to go insane then.
Yeah,
Lovely.
but that is
Yeah.
really
That
good.
is really nice. So what are the quantities?
Oh, God, now you're asking.
Well, how much absinthe? I think that's the important thing
There
to
is like
ask.
a sixth of an ounce.
Nice. That's the
So it's a
perfect
very,
amount.
very, very small amount.
Oh, yeah. Oh, we need to make more of these
Yeah.
immediately. Not immediately. Pace ourselves. That's really,
that is
really tasty.
That's the best one we've had in quite some time.
That is, yeah. And it's beguiling.
Yeah.
And I don't think I'm completely wrong in saying that it doesn't smell strongly of the aniseed that you associate with absinthe.
No.
You're not getting people who are very frightened of absinthe, and they go, not only because of the strength, but they go, oh, the taste of it. The wormwood.
I can tell it's in there, but it's not, by no means is it overpowering, because sometimes you're right, sometimes you get an absinthe drink, and even with the smallest amount, it's like, bah!
Yeah.
it's there. But this really isn't. There's enough other things in there to balance it out and to calm it down.
It's dangerously good.
Dangerously good.
That does not taste enough like alcohol,
Yeah.
considering everything that's in
I'm
it.
really happy with that one. I really like that.
You know what, Nick? The corpse's whiskers
Corpse's
are
whiskers?
indeed the corpse's whiskers.
They are.
They've made the cat proud.
Is that a thing?
Cat's whiskers.
Oh, right. I thought, where the hell is she going with this? And I didn't get it.
That's what the whole point I've been making is
Yes,
that it's the
it's-
cat's whiskers.
Yeah,
The cat's meow. It's cat's pajamas.
I didn't get that.
You didn't get that.
No, didn't get
Okay,
that.
fine. Whose fault is that?
Yeah, I'm going with yours.
Well, it is a resounding success. Well, with the corpse's whiskers firmly in hand, I'm going to show that corpse to his boss.
Course.
Take it for you. Come with us on a
Holding
journey.
him by the beard, going, you fucking bastard.
Plucking it out. There'll be no whiskers upon you, sir. With those firmly in hand.
With those firmly in hand.
With our drinks firmly in hand, are you ready for a
Ooh,
story?
yes, I think it's time.
So this week,
Yeah.
befitting of the grave, we are returning to a topic we have delved into before, and with much joy. We have talked of some gentlemen who operated in fair Edinburgh,
Yes.
also in the dark streets of London,
Yes.
around some famous pubs
Yes.
that inspired some songs. But we've not yet delved into the history of grave robbers in America.
Oh, no, we haven't.
The grave robbers, body snatchers, resurrection men operating in the United States of America.
Okay.
And the history of grave robbing in America is just as great and batshit as it is in the UK.
Excellent. As long as it's batshit, I'm there for it.
Absolutely. So this week we have the many tales, legends, and bona fide crimes that surrounded American body snatchers, particularly a man who was dubbed the King of Ghouls, Rufus Cantrell.
Oh, nice. I like that.
Now, I'm going to start with a caveat that while researching this, and it is a great area to research, and we've got many mini stories and little tangents we wander down, Rufus Cantrell was a black man. In his heyday is the late 1800s, early 1900s, which means a lot of the reports about him use some colourful language.
Yeah, I can't imagine they're overly PC.
It's not. No wild assumptions made. And no one really implying, out of the most of the reports, none of them really implying that anything that he did, anything he was involved with, was down to his race.
No.
It's just we are in the era where they do nothing but mention the person's race every 6 words. And there's a lot of words in there that don't fly anymore.
I can't imagine particularly nice words.
No. There's completely the wrong use of colour. There's completely the wrong use of certain N-words, which I'm not going to recreate on this show. So I have navigated my way around it. You kind of, once you've picked out all of that, you go, oh, that's actually quite interesting. That's quite nice. So yes, if I encounter any of these words, I'm going to treat them with discretion. I'm not going to recreate them on here because there's no need to.
You're going to sound different words instead. So every time I say daffodil...
No, I'm just going to say man, rather than all the words they used. A quick recap, though, on the context of our previous cases involving Messrs. Burke and Hare and the London Burkers, the Bethnal Green gang, for those of you who need it. Now, of course, you should go back and listen to the Burke and Hare episodes, the London Burker episodes, to find out about the history of body snatching in England and Scotland, and really in Europe, and some of the various methods that people use to protect their family members for when they were being buried from these body snatchers. But the whole...
And go and watch Sweeney Todd as well.
Go watch
the documentary Sweeney Todd. Great.
Well, less about body snatchers in this context. That's a bit of a tenuous thing.
Well, stole some bodies.
Yes, but to make pies.
And made pies.
Yes, but not to sell to
made
medical
profit,
colleges.
Made some money out of them.
Yes. And it's not Ed Gein either, who dug up stuff to decorate
Just
his
for fun.
house.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, it's all there's profit involved.
If you are thinking of Sweeney Todd, you'd be wrong. Body snatching and grave robbing has been going on for centuries, Nick. Oh, for centuries. For really, you've got to think about for the centuries prior to the 18th and 19th century, what were people doing? Because really the heyday of anatomical study is in the 1800s, late 1700s.
Oh, I think there are still people about prior to that.
Certainly.
Investigating and stuff like that. And then you've got more sort of esoteric potential applications.
That
the further
sort of
you
way.
go back.
Certainly there were doctors and there were medical men and everything who were trying to do early studies of experimentation on corpses to find out how the body works,
How
really.
How does it all go together?
But obviously it's been illegal and completely frowned upon
Somewhat frowned upon.
for centuries.
I hear it still is.
Yes, not so good, not so good. But with the advent of anatomical study, you need some fresh corpses to give to students, to doctors, to trained medical professionals. Prior to 1832, medical students in the UK were only permitted to dissect the corpses of executed criminals.
Quite right.
Only people who had been hanged for terrible, terrible offences, they could be cut up.
Also, terrible, terrible offences. You stole a loaf of bread, you bastard. Hang them up.
It got to that stage, really, with the bloody code, where it used to be, well, it was written down that it should be murderers and rapists and people who forged money.
2 loaves of bread, rip them to pieces.
If you cut down a tree at the wrong time of day, that was it. But the demand for corpses and the rise of study of them was high. Not enough criminals to meet demand, as we've covered before. So enter the gangs of body snatchers who would deliver fresh corpses on the sly to medical schools and very prestigious colleges in exchange for a few coins passed through the back door. Whether they'd murdered these people themselves
inconsequential.
or they had just sourced some bodies from a nice new grave, nobody asked questions.
No, indeed.
Even the Anatomy Act of 1832, which allowed a little bit more leniency with students and lecturers saying, okay, people who donate their bodies, that you can have those, those too.
Voluntary donations,
Nothing to stop the grave robbing. Still, demand was so high. Stealing a body, minor offence.
Oh, yeah.
Minor offence because it doesn't belong to anyone. Disturbing a grave. Oh, don't do that. That's awful. Stealing their clothes. That's robbery, that is, of someone's family.
Someone's stuff. Yeah.
So, yeah, bodies could be disposed of on the dissection table very easily. While the USA was a tiny bit behind Europe in terms of its advancements in medical studies, they were catching up very, very quickly. Body snatching and grave robbing was as prevalent in any case. Sadly, one very big difference in the USA, not to say that it didn't happen in the UK, but in the US, in the early part of the 19th century, a steady supply of dead slaves to a number of medical schools, which is really upsetting, and it is part of the history. But
it is what happened. So
yeah, schools in the South, medical schools in the South, were really popular because of this.
Because of the quantity of...
You've got slaves there, fine, give to medical schools once they've died, whatever circumstances, and then everyone wants to join at the medical schools because there's bodies.
Yeah.
There's bodies there. So that's horrible. There was a case in 1882 where 6 bodies had been dug up with little care from a dedicated African-American cemetery in Pennsylvania, and they were being transported to a nearby medical college. A crowd gathered in protest outside of the morgue, and this would happen a lot where grave robbing was concerned. You have families, you have members of the public just going, this is freaking
shit.
awful, because it's happening
Stop it.
so much that it's like, why is no one cracking down on this? This isn't a one-off. In this case, you've got one man, they stop the bodies from coming in. One man is screaming because he sees his brother lying there. And one, oh my God, this old woman told the press she saw her husband's body amongst them. And this is after she had begged people for the $22 needed to give him a decent funeral and saw him going in. And it's like, ugh. But they stopped it.
Good.
For a bit, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. How that turned out, it was just like, oh, isn't this a sad story? Did they cut up the bodies?
Probably did.
So yeah, huge swathes of body snatchers roaming the country, and uprisings and protests from local people along the way. So it's time for another aside.
Okay.
Really famous case of body snatching that not enough people know about.
Okay.
When I say it's really famous, it should be.
Really famous that no one's ever heard of.
So, do you know who John Scott Harrison is?
No.
He is the son of William Henry Harrison.
Okay.
Do you know who he is?
No.
9th president of the USA.
Well done him.
He died in 30 days.
Well done him.
I only know that from the Simpsons episode. We are the lesser known presidents. Also, his son, John Scott, was the father of Benjamin Harrison, who was the 23rd president of the USA. So good pub quiz knowledge there.
Yes.
John Scott Harrison is the only son and father of a president.
Oh, that's confusing.
His daddy was a president. He had a son. His son became president.
Yes,
So
great knowledge, but which I will forget instantly.
That's not the story.
Is that it? I thought. Oh, good sense, good story. Hey, good story.
I haven't just decided to go in the middle of all of these tales of murder. Just a few facts.
Facts about presidents.
There you are, some pub quiz knowledge. John Scott Harrison died in 1878, and as his sons, including Benjamin, future president, prepared to bury him in the graveyard. Now, the details on this are scant, so they are what they are.
So I've made it up.
I filled in the gaps, with a
yes.
few musical numbers.
Nice.
As they prepared to bury him, apparently his family noticed that an adjacent grave to the family plot, which contained a nephew of the son, so whatever relation that is, 23-year-old Augustus, that grave had signs of being ransacked. The grave had been robbed, the body was gone. So while they were burying Daddy, John Scott Harrison, the sons ensured, okay, we're going to take extra precautions to make sure no one gets at this coffin. And the coffin went in, they put stone slabs on top of it, they put brick, they poured cement on top of it, everything. They paid a watchman in advance for a month to walk around with a gun.
Nice.
Shooing people away, check on the grave, every precaution was taken. Great, Daddy's all right. But poor Augustus, let's find out what happened to him.
What's gone on there?
Let us investigate. So, after the funeral, pretty much the day or the day after, John's son, John Jr., and a cousin, George, they go in search of the body, and they are armed with search warrants, and they go straight to the Ohio Medical College. They know what's happened here.
Yeah, they know where he is.
So they enter the college, they start searching for their cousin. A janitor is reluctantly showing them around, and they get to an area where there is a huge rope and pulley system where the corpses are hoisted up to different floors for the prodding and the poking. And they get up there and they look at the rope, and there's a body hanging on the rope, and they go, okay, that's not Augustus, it's an old man. John Jr. takes another look. That's my father.
Oh, yeah.
John Scott Harrison's body is there, which one can only conclude that someone had stolen it while it was in the funeral parlour, and that coffin went into the ground, did not contain
Just
his body.
With some rocks or something.
Yes, they filled it with rocks, and they were just filling that. No one's going to get his body.
Hell.
Or someone went in with a pneumatic drill seconds after it was buried. So Harrison's family obviously brought actions.
One would hope, yes.
Against the college, against the janitor, placing him to blame. And this, this whole suit sort of takes place with the family going, the people who run the college, they're responsible. Benjamin Harrison later wrote an open letter. We have been offered through the press the sympathy of the distinguished men who constitute the faculty of the Ohio Medical College. I have no satisfactory evidence that any of them knew whose body they had, but I have the most convincing evidence that they are covering the guilty scoundrel. The bodies brought there are purchased and paid for by an office of the college. The body snatcher stands before him and takes from his hand the fee for his hellish work. He is not an occasional visitant. So pretty much saying, you guys know.
You know exactly what's going on.
You know what happened. The nicest footnote I've read this year, what happened to Augustus, he was found pickled in a vat of brine in the University of Michigan.
Oh, God.
He was in a vat of brine.
Yeah, it's just...
That's all that's written
he was
about
pickled.
No more information. Did he get a decent burial afterwards, or was he just served?
He's
people?
It's got a good pickling.
Why was he in the brine?
Well, to pickle him, obviously.
Clearly, to see what would happen.
To preserve him.
To preserve him for the future.
Yeah.
Yeah, so when you sort of see those horror films with like Frankenstein, Dr. Frankenstein's laboratory of all those jars and people like, yeah, that's true.
That's exactly what it was like.
That's exactly what they were doing in Michigan.
Yeah.
The bastards. The incident is thought to have led in part to the passing of the 1879 law in Indianapolis and later the Ohio anatomy law, neighbouring, in 1881, that's stating that the body of any person who shall die in any state, city, or county prison, jail, or county asylum, or infirmary, or public hospital within this state shall remain unclaimed for 24 hours after death, may be used as a subject for anatomical dissection and scientific examination. So that should put a stop to all of this. 24 hours you've got to wait.
You've got to wait 24 hours.
24 hours. Body snatchers lining up at the window there going, come on, come on. But
well,
no.
It seems like a reasonable-ish compromise.
Yes, no one wants it.
So, yeah, if no one claims person, then
you can have
fine, go for it.
What if the person was on holiday?
Well, then that's their loss.
How would you go on holiday while your relatives are sick
exactly.
in the asylum? So that should take care of everything, shouldn't it? No.
Does it not? What a surprise.
Demand for corpses and the posh men willing to pay handsomely for them was as prevalent as ever. Enter Rufus Cantrell.
Okay.
Later known as King of Ghouls. Ghouls in this case refers to body snatchers in the slang. So Rufus was born around 1876, moved to Indianapolis from Tennessee in 1892, age 16. Now, not much is known about his childhood, except for all this stuff.
Except for everything.
This stuff would come out later in a trial by his mother, by people who were pushing her with a stick going, oh, tell us things. So let's report it, as she would say it later.
Okay.
If it is to be believed. His father had been committed to an insane asylum.
Okay.
His sister too. And Rufus was always earmarked as not quite right.
Not quite right.
Not quite right. Some say he was prone to fits and spasms, which make a lot of people think he had epilepsy.
Oh, yes.
So epilepsy back in the day. Oh, you're mad.
Mad.
You're crazy.
Entirely mad.
You're crazy.
Possessed.
Possessed. Yeah. Others say that there was a riding accident. He fell off a horse and landed on his head.
That would be unfortunate.
So this results in him having these delusions as a child that he can talk to God, that he would preach in the middle of the fields and he would talk to other children saying that he could speak to God, and he would occasionally have violent spells, but he was also quite the showman. And as he got older into his teenage years, he would give long talks reciting Bible passages. He had this dream of becoming, apparently at one point, an evangelical preacher. He was telling morality tales. In between these bouts of religious zeal, he remained changeable in his moods. Apparently, he tried to take his own life in 1896 in the streets out of lovesickness.
Oh.
He had a stint in the US Army. He was discharged after only 1 year's service for suicidal inclinations.
Not looking good for him.
He would make the papers for the first time in the 1900s for a bar brawl. that he was involved in, which broke out because he wouldn't stop shouting about how good a presidential candidate one William Bryan was.
Well, he was obviously a passionate man.
Yes. Was fighting about that, and that does refer me back to the Simpsons episode. England's greatest Prime Minister was Lord Palmerston, Pitt the Elder. Apparently, a bartender was there called William McElroy, who had previously exhibited his prowess by tossing a large man into a canal.
Well, I mean, I would be impressed by that.
I had to remove the racial terms there. But a fight broke out, and McElroy failed to throw anyone into the canal and was beaten until he was glad to stop.
Okay.
It's great.
Poor McElroy.
So there you are. But yeah, Cantrell getting in there, Rufus. He would eventually find work in Indianapolis in the state's first undertakers run by an African-American man, a man named CMC Willis.
Okay.
So yes, and wouldn't you know it, working in an undertaker's would put him in touch with the Central College of Physicians and Surgeons.
One would imagine it would.
A training school for new doctors, and they were in such need of fresh corpses for their studies. Rufus realised there was good money in grave robbing, and he started to employ the services of other men, 7 in total in the end, to form one of the most prolific grave robbing gangs the city had ever known, at least according to his later testimonies.
According to, yes, somewhat self-publication. Yes.
Oh yeah, he was like, I've robbed all the graves.
Yes, there was not a grave left in the city that I haven't
You joke. The way he put it, but also got to the point where people were going, he might be right. Where are all the bodies? Yes, the gangs could pilfer through paupers' graves easily, remote cemeteries on the outskirts of Indianapolis, further into the state and into county areas where no one's going to care. No one's going to care. Oh, just dig stuff up and no one's going to look. But also employing more cunning and skill to target the city's ceremonies. A report from the Indianapolis Journal in 1902 described his method. He did not use hooks in pulling out corpses, as was done years ago.
Okay.
He only used hooks when a corpse was fastened in a coffin. So when someone had tried to nail it down. Instead of digging down at the head of the grave, as was the former custom, he adopted the plan of digging at the centre. The covering of the box was then sawed through and the small lid on the coffin shoved back. No lights are used by the ghouls, except an occasional match which is lighted down in the grave. It paints a nice picture of all the work that you're doing in total darkness.
Yeah, that's unpleasant.
Rufus would claim that he and his men had made $420 each in 3 months, which is as much as many men would make in a year.
Yeah, absolutely.
And one famous story is that Greenlawn, one huge cemetery in the city, literally died thanks to the amount of grave robbing there was.
I'm not getting buried there.
Well, just there were no bodies left.
Yeah.
And there was also other stuff going on with this cemetery. There was a bigger cemetery where much nicer, grander cemetery. So some people were moving their relatives and go, okay, well, we'll be interred there, which you can do. And then they'd go and look for the relatives and empty. There's no relatives. There's no one to move. And then people going, oh shit, there's no one in this cemetery
So
anymore.
entirely hollow underneath there.
Yes, so there's actually a building development over where Greenlawn Cemetery was, and people might go, oh, that's not right. Well, there's no one fucking buried here.
There's no one buried there.
Yep.
They all got nicked.
At this time, so successful was Rufus, he actually tried to get work procuring bodies for the University of Louisville. He went in with a letter of recommendation from a doctor in Indianapolis. He's superb. The freshest corpses.
He has the best corpses I've ever seen.
Delicious they are. Just like, what's up with you, Mr. Doctor? He was rejected because he was black.
Yeah.
It's like, no, we can't have you working for us. Yeah, according to Historic Indianapolis, he had this letter, but no, still no good. Now is a good time for me to show you a picture of an open-air dissection from this university, Louisville.
Oh, good.
And the doctors are all dressed, I can only describe it as wizards. So I'm going to try and turn this around so you can see it.
Yeah. Oh, that's very wizardy. Oh, I like it.
And that is an actual corpse on the table that has been absolutely stripped of all of its flesh.
Yeah, that's been ripped to pieces.
But these are all men wearing
I'm loving the coats.
Top hats. One of them is wearing curtains.
They say that I fancy dressing your mum's curtains or something, isn't it? It really is. That's brilliant.
Now, I will share the picture because it is exactly as you'd imagine. They're all wearing fancy coats and top hats and poking at a horrible scene.
Very, 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 very flayed individual.
Yes, flayed is the right word. And also open air. Why not be outside? Yes, get some fresh... There's people in the background of that picture just watching.
Yeah, well, there would be. There would be huge audiences for such things to...
Charging tickets.
To observe. Yeah.
So Rufus had been running his racket for quite some time with his gang. But he was eventually caught when a pawnbroker tipped off the police via his lawyer, the pawnbroker's lawyer.
He's now trying to pawn corpses.
No, he just kept...
I've got a few too many today. The hospitals and colleges are full. He's trying to pawn some corpses.
Just walks in a figure dressed up, puppets him in, going, "Would you like to buy a corpse? Yes, no, maybe." Okay, no, yep, didn't think so.
Okay.
Off we go. Giving them a hand and a skull. You would think it was because he was pawning the goods.
Perhaps, or the valuables found amongst the corpse.
Yes, no, Rufus was a professional. He knew you don't take the valuables. You leave them buried in a coffin. Some body snatchers actually had come a cropper when they had stolen the body of a young girl, which is awful. Yeah, stolen her body, and one of her shoes fell off, a little white slipper, and fell in the snow because it was that time of year. And the slipper was found the next day, and it was, oh my God, this grave has been robbed. So it gave them away. So now the rule was, no, strip the body down, put everything back in the coffin, bury it. Nobody knows, mate. So no, he was borrowing 4 shotguns very regularly.
Okay.
Yeah, going in, giving the money, taking the shotguns, goodbye, coming back in. And the pawnbroker decides to call his lawyer. He goes, this does not feel okay.
Yeah, something feels slightly dodgy here.
This man coming in and getting a lot of guns.
A lot of guns.
A lot of guns. The lawyer speaks to the police. The police start thinking, okay, this is coincidental around a lot of the time where criminal activity is going around. There's not robberies or anything. Are they arming themselves in case they're caught?
Zombies.
Oh, zombies.
Or zombies.
You have to protect yourself against the
zombies.
zombies.
You do have to protect yourself against a zombie.
Yeah, but a shotgun isn't going to help.
I think it would help. A shotgun to the face is going to stop a zombie.
Ooh, unless it's a shotgun with a cartridge of salt.
Yes.
Zombies don't like salt.
Do they not?
No, they don't. I have no follow-up information on that.
I saw it in a film once.
I read it in a big book of horror when I was 12. Yep. Okay. Sprinkle some salt. Have you not seen Hocus Pocus?
That's for witches. That's not zombies.
Works for zombies too.
Well, it works for all manner of undead shenanigans.
No, Billy, what's his name, didn't cross the big... Never mind that now. Just zombies don't like salt. Why
zombies
can't you believe me just once?
Right. Yes, I entirely... Let's go with it.
So the pawnbroker gives over the name of the man and said, Rufus, bring salt. He is arrested. And when he is brought into the station, Rufus sings like a bird.
Nice.
Oh, he gives his confession ever the showman, only too happy to share the details of his grave-robbing antics and the people who had paid him handsomely to procure all of the bodies. He listed all of the cemeteries they'd operated in, the hospitals they'd targeted, the men who were paying them, men like Dr. Alexander from the Central College, who gave not only information on potentially sick people that they could target and keep an eye on, but even accompanied them on their journeys to the graveyards. Rufus claimed to have lifted more than 100 bodies with his gang. He may have been exaggerating some accounts, but it was sensational stuff for the papers and the authorities. Rufus knew that if he turned star witness, he might get a reduced sentence.
Yes.
So he started to share the tactics that a body snatcher might use. And I think that's time for a drink.
Yes, definitely is.
So, Nick,
hello.
we've refreshed our glasses.
More whiskers.
More whiskers. It was so good, we had to have another.
Thank you.
And that is a complicated one to make,
Yeah,
almost. But it's worth it.
It's worth it. It's good.
But now we have our drinks.
Yes.
Let me tell you some of the ways in which the body snatchers worked
Tell me.
in Rufus's gang, but also the legends that also emerged around that. As I said before, you've got in the case probably of John Scott Harrison, the body being whisked away before it even met the grave.
Even before cemetery, yes.
Yes, some grave robbers would snatch the bodies and fill the coffins with blocks of ice, which I think is going to cause leakage.
Yes, why ice, I wonder?
Maybe big chunks of ice. Heavy.
But so it's surely
cheap.
Well, I mean, would rocks not be cheaper?
Rattling, maybe? I don't know. Others would dress up as grave diggers and close in on the grave literally after the coffin had been lowered and the family were walking away. So they're just going, oh, boo-hoo, yes, we're definitely digging the grave. We're definitely covering it up. We're not getting down in there and taking the body out and stuffing it into a sack.
That's bold.
Yeah.
All that takes is one other person going, oh no, I must just go and pay my final respects or something. And then,
seeing like
as they've got daddy levered out of the coffin.
They would also pose as mourners. Pose as mourners. They would get women to do it as well. So they would often, actually in Europe as well, you would have women in the gangs who would go into the poorhouses or in the hospitals with an unclaimed body. Oh my God, that's my darling daddy or my brother. I shall take them, they're mine. But mourners just turning up at gravesides. Oh yes, just terribly sad. Yeah, okay, and just been buried here. And it was how long? And yes, how sick were they? And how long? Oh yes, that'll fetch a pretty penny. I mean, so sorry for your loss. They didn't touch grave covered with floral displays because they were too complicated to put back.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. That was Rufus's thing. So they were too complicated. I like to think that there was one florist gravedigger who really, really revelled in that bit and then built a really extravagant display over the grave. Okay. There were hazards of the job, of course.
Well, one would imagine so.
Booby-trapped graves. Now, we've mentioned these in passing before, but you have a whole sort of spring-loaded torpedo system in some graves.
Nice.
Yeah, so various people invented contraptions to prevent the body snatchers from getting the corpse. So you would literally have all this sort of spring-loaded blades and bullets in the coffin. As soon as you closed the lid and nailed it down, the moment that the grave robber opened the lid, shot through the face.
Fantastic.
It actually happened that a gang of grave robbers, one was killed instantly, the other one had his leg broken because of this torpedo thing. It's like a nail bomb equivalent. One guy invented a system with sort of a tube that could be poured into the grave, I think it was, after burial, to fill it with nitroglycerin.
Brilliant. Exploding coffins.
This would kill anyone within 25 to 50 feet of the grave.
Brilliant.
That's a bad day for any mourners who were just nearby.
Wow. their time had come.
Turning up, oh dear Aunt Gladys, here's your favourite poses of roses on your birthday.
That's gonna hurt. That's a lot of shrapnel. You not only have you got the wooden coffin, you got bits of leg and bones and skulls flying all over the place.
Bits of body snatcher.
Bits
flying about.
Okay.
The man was asked, aren't you worried about your wife's corpse? Because this is why he did it. It was like to protect his wife. I'd rather she was obliterated than fall into the wrong hands.
I'm good for him, I would say.
Yeah, have her blown to smithereens.
Rather blown to smithereens than being gawped at by students,
yes.
I would say.
It's a weird way, because you're still going to have to pick up bits of her skull from across the graveyard. But
It's how she wanted to go.
Screw medical science!
It's what she would have wanted.
There is a great one, and this is kind of a bit of folklore, because some people still apply this story, I think, to other ones, but I'm going to say it anyway. Cincinnati Gazette states that on a Saturday night, it was a Saturday night, what else are you going to do?
Yeah.
A fellow was stealing a dead body from the graveyard of Cumminsville,
Okay.
near the city, when in crossing the fence he slipped and fell on the outside of the fence, and the rope which held the sack containing the corpse slid from his shoulders to his neck, and at daylight his body was found hanging on the outside of the graveyard fence, while the corpse he had stolen hung on the other side.
Brilliant.
Both equally lifeless.
Nice.
Now, that is a story I think is passed into folklore. People apply it to a man stealing a pig and all this sort of thing, but I like the corpse element of that.
Absolutely. Bring it on.
This is all good fun. But Rufus is in custody. He is naming names. He is pointing out that all these graves are empty, and people are finding, yes, the whole of the actual ecosystem of this city is screwed because there's just holes in the ground. Where are the bodies, though? They need the bodies, surely, for some evidence.
Well, this is true.
Yes. If they can't find the bodies in the medical schools, well, where could they have gone? And they go searching, and they don't really find them.
Well, generally, then that has to be sort of incinerated after they've been used as much as they can be for such things. Are they not disposed of at that point?
The question about incineration doesn't really come up in the reports here, so whether it's implied that these ones didn't have massive incinerators, there must have been some in the medical schools at that time. We're talking the early 1900s.
Absolutely.
Here. There's got to be incinerators. Everyone maybe glosses over it going, no, that's not good for the story. Shut up. What did happen is bodies are now being found dumped all around the city. Pretty much, in so many ways. I mean, literally, actually, they are. Because the medical schools are going, get the fuck rid of them. We don't want them on our doorstep whatsoever. No. One article in the Interocean newspaper from Chicago, that's the name of it, reported 10 bodies had been found in the basement of one college, but doesn't give any follow-up information. I'm going, okay, well, that's not a good sign. Maybe they couldn't identify them. 4 bodies found in sacks in the street. 1 body concealed for 2 days in a saloon. And again, that's just one line. Like, was it propped up playing the piano? Serving drinks?
Is it playing cards? What's going on there?
Chatting up ladies. Someone had actually proposed to it. It was setting off into the sunset. Even as Rufus was on trial and in custody, bodies were found dumped in alleyways, in a sack next to a dry goods store, one at the rear of the Central Medical College, which makes people think a rival school had gone,
Trying to get them in trouble.
Exactly, trying to blame someone else. So people are finding the bodies, but they're not finding anything that links them to the right people. Like, they're not finding them on the slab. And of course, all the people in the schools are not going to be saying anything.
They get them
No. Allegations were made against 75 people, including some of the top surgeons of the noble schools, right down to the lowly graveyard workers. Dr. Joseph Alexander stood trial in early 1903, with Rufus as the star witness. Now, Rufus had been chatting away to the point where people go, okay, well, he knows a lot of stuff. And there's no doubt he's done some dodgy things, but is he making some of this up? And that may have been his downfall in terms of this trial. But really, is a white, wealthy doctor ever going to feel the full force of the law?
Yeah.
Expert witness after expert witness is brought in to testify that Rufus is insane.
Completely nuts.
Absolutely. This is where the mother is brought in and tells a tale of Rufus as just a mad child, apparently, and a religious zealot and violent and all these things. And people are, okay. Anyone who gave evidence against Dr. Alexander, one person who came in and outside of Rufus testified, no, he did go on grave robbing expeditions. They just said, he's drunk. He's drunk. Clearly he's drunk. He can't be trusted. He's turned up absolutely drunk to court. Like, no, you're drunk. Get out, you drunk man. The defense and Rufus go, I'm not insane. No, I'm not. I'm telling the truth. Despite the protestations that Rufus knows is telling the exact, is absolutely telling the truth. The rich white man gets off.
What a surprise.
Of course, the jury is not able to reach a verdict. It's not that they declare him not guilty.
Right.
It's a hung jury.
Undecided.
Yeah. So the case is thrown out. A retrial. There's going to be no retrial because Rufus sees what's happened in the first trial and goes, no.
What's the point?
I'm not going to do it. Rufus is tried next. Pleads insanity. Like, well, it worked in the first trial. Like, okay, well, so you've just been saying you're not insane and now you are insane. What do we do with this? Well, I think he's just going, okay, well, Quid's in now.
Yeah, well, he's now got an army of witnesses who have declared him insane.
Come back,
back,
please.
Yeah, you have just said I'm mad. So yeah, okay, fine,
Yeah.
I'm mad.
So it's like, okay, he's always crazy. We'll just take all the testimony from that court. And there was even an anonymous letter that implicated Rufus in the body snatching of John Harrison in 1901. Never proven. But in April 1903, Rufus is sentenced to 10 years in Jeffersonville Penitentiary. He's later transferred to Michigan City Penitentiary. After the court case, Dr. Alexander does not really get off scot-free, laughing and walking off into the sunset. Crowds of angry people are protesting about him getting away with body snatching.
Yeah.
There's lots of people in more rural communities, so just outside of the city, who gather together yelling about what's happened, an absolute travesty of justice. And there's one group who get together and they make effigies of Dr. Alexander and burn them at a crossroads.
Awesome.
Despite all these protestations, though, the rich doctors go back to cutting up bodies.
Yeah, of course they do.
Rufus himself was released from jail in 1909 on parole. For good behaviour, possibly. But he set his sights on becoming a vaudeville performer.
Oh, nice. That's a career change. Love it.
He wanted to keep up his performance element.
Yeah.
Advertised a one-man show at a local theatre. Rufus Cantrell, the famous King of Ghouls, in a great lecture about his horrible life.
No, I'll see that.
Yeah. And it promised that 3 other famous ghouls were going to make guest appearances.
Brilliant.
Yes. It wasn't the runaway hit that he clearly thought it was. By 1915, he was facing charges for operating a blind tiger.
What's that?
Oh, it's a speakeasy.
Oh, I did not know.
Yeah, illegal drinking joint.
Good for him.
Yes. Before the charges were brought, he fled. He fled the city and to fulfill his dream of becoming an evangelical preacher.
Oh dear.
He apparently married a Canadian woman.
It's gone downhill. Body snatching to evangelical preacher.
It gets better. Yeah, married a Canadian woman who was part of the Charity Army of America. So not quite Salvation Army. Her brother, well-known safe blower, so she's on the police's alert.
Excellent.
The charity that she was part of was shut down due to massive fraud. He eventually was jailed again for pickpocketing at a gospel praise group
Nice.
in Detroit in 1916.
Shouldn't laugh at that, but it's quite funny.
Yes. So he's around 40 when he goes to jail, and this is the last time we hear from him. We don't know what happened to Rufus after that. Did he die in jail? Did he serve his time and go on to continue his old ghoulish ways? But there was one interesting and suitably ghoulish addition to his story. Now, this information is taken from Historic Indianapolis, which has been a big source for this story. Great local historians doing amazing work. But they're using local newspaper sources. Apparently, in 1900, so before he stands trial, but still in his grave-robbing ways, a rich Indianapolis woman named Carrie T. Selvage escaped from the state hospital, having received treatment there for mental and nervous disease.
She was a lady.
She was a lady.
She was a lady. That's enough. Mental.
She had the hysteria. Her womb was trying to climb
She
out.
had the lady parts, therefore she must be mad.
Rufus told Detroit detectives, so this is the time when he's arrested for that pickpocketing, that during a grave robbing operation at the same time, Carrie T. Selvage showed up at the cemetery gate in flagrante delicto.
Scandalous.
She stood there, Rufus claimed, in her nightgown, felt slippers, dishevelled hair streaming out in a cold March wind, looking like a banshee.
Nice.
Terrifying the
good
rest of the resurrection men.
As one would.
Then, in quick summary, he abducted Selvage, held her in a basement, killed her, then sold her body to Indiana Medical College.
Oh, that progressed fast.
It escalated. It escalated, didn't it?
Yeah, it really did.
When he told this story, the police went, "No, you're lying. You lying. That didn't happen. That didn't happen." But interestingly enough, in April 1920, Carrie's skeleton showed up in the attic of the old hospital, part of which had been converted into a garage. Selvage's skeleton was said to have been found by construction workers sitting up against a wall, her head having rolled off.
Oh.
The skull was on the floor. Her brothers recognised her clothing, the wrapper, so like a dressing gown thing, and the slippers that Rufus had referenced.
He was wearing, yeah.
Exactly the apparel that Rufus had said she was wearing in the graveyard when she appeared like a banshee.
Yeah.
Rufus had given this testimony in Detroit in 1916. Investigators nevertheless judged that the woman had crawled up into the attic and simply frozen to death, and her body was undiscovered for 20 years.
Wow.
The King of Ghouls was never prosecuted for her murder. So that is the story of one of many body
That's very
snatchers
good.
in the USA.
Oh, dear old King of Ghouls.
Da, da, da.
Bloody marvellous.
He's a great figure.
He really is.
And it's very folklory, all of the reports. Great ones, as I said. Great local history resources there telling his story and lots of other stories. There were so many little tales of body snatchers that you could have just built an entire episode out of those. But thought I'd tell Rufus's tale.
Good. We like Rufus.
Yes. All the tactics. There was an extra story. I'm just going to summarize it. I'm not going to read the whole thing, which I was like, is this enough for Patreon? Is this enough for a mini episode or anything like that? It's basically about two farmers who lived in Indianapolis, and they used to turn up to funerals all the time. Like, even if they didn't know people, even if they didn't know the buried, and people were like, what the hell are they doing there? But they were very wealthy and they were white, and no one could question
Come
them.
to pay their respects.
They were eventually caught and convicted of murder because they had stumbled on another gang of grave robbers when they turned up to rob a grave.
Brilliant.
They basically found them, and at first they tried to say, oh, we chased away these grave robbers. Oh yes, we fought them off, but it was no, they just turned up. It's a bit like, the kind of People's Judean Front meeting the other one's campaign to fight Galilee in the corridor, and they're just having a scrap over the grave, and shots are fired and everything. It's a great story. That must have happened a few times.
Oh, imagine so. Yeah, absolutely.
There you go.
Yeah.
So there you go. What do you think of the grave robbers of America?
Well, I mean, I mean, yes, I mean, it's very unsurprising that it went on. Yes, there's a King of Ghouls. I like that. I mean, it's a good title. It's a good title
He
to
embraced
have.
it.
Absolutely. Yeah, well, he really did. Absolutely.
I think he just decided if I turn state witness, I'll get off.
Yeah.
I'll get a lighter sentence. He did.
And he did. Yeah, it worked. Absolutely.
Yeah, he didn't kill anyone.
Yeah.
Until he apparently in
Until
Detroit
he
said,
maybe
"No, I totally killed
confessed
the
to killing someone."
Yeah.
He's probably like, "Meh." Is that then now just trying to make yourself a bit more famous at that point?
Yeah, but then all the medical schools who were completely complicit in it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But they're rich and white, so it's fine.
Pretty much. And again, it's the same in the UK as well, where you have a lot of, the commoners who are out just stealing bodies, and the medical colleges like, nope, no knowledge of this whatsoever.
Yeah.
Like, you literally have a body in front of us on the table. There's not enough crimes in the world.
Yeah.
Ghoulish.
Ghoulish indeed.
And I've also furnished you with very good pub quiz knowledge.
You have, which I've already forgotten. So
William Henry Harrison
I should be taking notes, I feel.
died in 30 days. Shortest living president. Shortest term. Not shortest living. She's like, oh, I'm
Just
dead.
understand. Yeah.
His son, body snatched. His son helped to recover him, and he became president too.
It's very good knowledge.
There's a lot of presidents and bodies. And maybe that should be another story about
Maybe.
presidents
all
and their
the
bodies.
all the presidents' bodies.
Well, the Kennedys. They have a lot of bodies. Well, there you go. What do you think, people? What do you think of the story of Rufus Cantrell, King of Ghouls, and of the various body snatchers and their methods in America? There must be so many more tales, possibly local ones, super local ones, or much bigger ones that we have not scratched the surface of. Please jump on the comments of wherever you listen to this story, on social media, or just tell us your thoughts and your theories on DMs, on emails about what was going on with Rufus. What do we think the other medical colleges were up to? Did they stage tea parties with the corpses? Just once.
No.
No?
I'm going for no.
I hope they did just do tea parties, because otherwise you go down this route of like, oh, what do they do to the corpses? That's gross.
We'll cut them up probably.
Yeah, I know, but like if you have a corpse and you kind of like, oh, we could just like stage that one-man show and that kind of, that play I've been writing, this is great, I have an enraptured audience.
Yes.
Someone did that once. Some doctor did that once. If you know who did it, please tell us. Share your thoughts, your feelings, your theories, but most importantly, while listening to this episode or going about your daily business, mix up a corpse's whiskers.
Oh, it's so good.
It's so good.
I'm so drunk. I feel really drunk.
You had a Negroni
I had a
before we
Negroni
started.
and now I've had two of these and I'm like...
You're quite gone. There was a moment where you closed your eyes during this and I'm like, you all right?
Am I alive? I don't know. Can I see through time? Possibly.
I'm okay, actually. I'm surprisingly all right. I don't know. I think I'm speaking words.
Wait till you listen to this back.
There's occasionally sometimes when I edit and there's just 20 minutes I have to cut out. And there's the bits where Nick snores.
I don't snore.
You do snore.
I do snore, but not through an episode.
Not through an episode, no. Not because of the quality, just because we're drunk. I feel all right, actually.
yeah.
I feel quite emboldened.
So mix up, yeah, corpses and whiskers. It's bloody marvellous.
Lots of ingredients, but good ones.
But nothing too outlandish. Definitely give it a go.
Let us know any variations you're making on it based on what you have in the cupboard and if it works or not. We did a couple of substitutions and it made a resounding success of it.
Definitely.
If you haven't already, please come and join us on Patreon if you want to get more Poisonous Cabinet content every single week. It is a small, flexible amount that you give us each month and it really helps us basically do this show. Please also leave us a review on Apple iTunes and come and follow us on TikTok and Instagram and Facebook and read books with us because we have a book club.
There's so much going on.
There's so much going on. It's lovely. It's a community. It's happy. It's lovely. It's a cult. Thanks for listening, guys. We have been the people inside the Poisoner's Cabinet. We will see you next week. And remember, your loved ones are trying to kill you.
Oh,